Alright, so I got a strike on my other channel, so I'm doing this on the I can't even say the title, but my backup channel. Uh, anyway, just I've been listening to some Antinatalist podcast. Creep. I want to re-listen to the Creep interview. I'm sorry, I got a bit of a cold here. The Creep interview, which is great, I think. Also pretty sad because I heard he apparently he killed himself. Uh, it's from July, something like June. I think June 2020, and he killed himself not so long after. Uh, but yeah, the amount of bullshit in the Antinatalism podcast is just unbelievable. I listened to Life Sucks afterwards. He was the guy who made this hamster video about me. He's good at drawing. But then there was like a real joke, with some guy called Connor Garcia. I mean, is that his real name? He has no Hispanic accent. He has a Hispanic last name, and he just talks like he's you know with a perfect American accent. No, absolutely no, nothing to do with Southern Europe. But then so this is weird guy. At first I thought he was so this is in his beginning 40s, like me. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm 45. So this guy is uh he wrote a novella called Call for Heroes. Uh, and I mean, even that term is pretty ridiculous. I don't know the exact length, but why not just call it a novel? You're sure it's not long enough to be a novel? Uh, there are novels that takes like 53 minutes to read. I think it's longer than that. But anyway, so uh, it just looks absolutely ridiculous. And this guy is just weird. He's like, yeah, I'm like with a Alaskan accent and been like living in nature in Alaska and stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, I thought. And then he's like, yeah, and I taught math on university. Oh, that's so. What is it? Did you? Well, I mean, and then he's like pushing the whole astronomy bullshit. If you look at his YouTube channel, it has 3 astronomy videos, and he has like 5 subscribers. Uh, and really, I don't give a shit about Amanda's stupid competition. I mean, obviously, she's not a very intelligent person. And the conversation about I haven't read it. I haven't read the book, and I'm not gonna read it. But the conversation about the text was just absolutely ridiculous. It's like for example, they mentioned Cole, somebody called Cole, and then they don't even mention True Detective. It's like, okay, Russ Cole from True Detective. But of course, she wants to like suck his dick almost, like for mentioning Amanda and in Mendham. And then he's like, yeah, like you don't have to read Benatar, to be an antinatalist. And then he's like sucking the dick of Benatar. How does that? Yo, Benatar's great, he's awesome. But you don't have to read him. What the fuck is that about? Uh, so this guy's just weird. One thing I agree with him is that he says that Benatar actually wiped the floor with Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, and I agree about that totally. Recently I had some like problems with the way Benatar is acting towards this forbidden topic, this heavily censored topic that we're not allowed to talk about, uh, but I mean, who cares? I mean, it's just I mean, so so there's two reviews on YouTube. I'm not even gonna go on Amazon to check it out. I'm not gonna check out the book on Amazon. And not surprisingly, it sold less than 100, much less than 100 copies. He said he made like in the tens of dollars. Thought first I thought he meant 10,000, but no, he was joking, like he made $10 or something. Uh, so it's like absolutely infantile story. I mean, does this guy ever read anything good like Lovecraft and stuff like that? Uh, I'm not saying I can make better literature. I'm not interested in making literature, written literature anymore. But really, but no, not really. Maybe a little bit, uh, but this is just absolutely disgusting. I haven't heard A.K. Hunter's review, um, but I heard Dana White's review. I saw Dana White's the friend Antinatalism review, and and he actually replied. And I was like trying to find him. Like apparently his channel is called Google is Evil, like named after Mendham or something, named after Mendham's channel. But I couldn't find it searching on that, so I found him. He came up under his alleged name, which I really doubt is his real name. Uh, and then uh, so the conversation between Amanda and Connor in the podcast, that was like something like who's the hero and stuff like this kind of like high school level discussion of the text. Uh, like what kind of topic is that? Who's the hero? That's like you would talk about like on in like really that's like really like like they want to talk about what the message is as well, even though it's this guy is just this guy's an anti-natalist troll. uh, Which Life Sucks called me once, but then he realized I was serious, which I absolutely am, totally. But that guy was just contradicting himself so much. Like what is up with like saying, he was like criticizing this guy for saying you're not an anti-natalist if you haven't read Benatar. And then he's full of praise of Benatar. I don't understand how can that be? How is that mutually compatible? Uh, well, that's like I said that about Danny Shine, that he's full of shit because he hasn't read the literature. But of course, that's subjective, of course. But I mean, that's like, what the fuck? I mean, it's this guy. Um, so it's just this absolutely ridiculous sci-fi story. Then he's like, oh, well, I don't like sci-fi. And it turns out like he just read he read a lot of Bradbury and Asimov and stuff like. So he read like 300 books of sci-fi. So, but he doesn't like sci-fi. He just read 300 books. I mean, this guy was just is so inconsistent. And uh, at first I thought he was like this guy, like what's his name, like this Confessions of an Antinatalist, but he's really nothing like that. He's nothing like what's he called, Jim Crawford, right? He's nothing like Jim Crawford. I mean, I'm not just saying it's a competition or anything, but it's just well, where firstly, the amount of just small talk and like just mutual praise on the podcast is just absolutely ridiculous. And they never take up any controversial topics like trying to fight against censorship or something. That's way beyond these guys. And then okay, well, anyway, so it's a story that takes place in 2199, maybe a reference to the Matrix, which is supposed to take place around there, right? And then it's just like, well, it's just like this total like infantile story uh uh about a world where antinatalism has been accepted, and then there's Aries, who is a natalist, who wants to continue to procreate, and then there's Cole, who is he's a real antinatalist, apparently just mainstream in that environment. So so he said like, well, it's all like unclear uh whether it could have been written by a natalist, but I haven't listened to all of Dana's interview yet because I listened to like 7 hours of podcast of that's I think that's something like 47 episodes or something. So it's really and it's fun stuff. It's funny, stupid but funny. And sometimes he was like taking this line of like ever deeper honesty is essay like survival of the stupidest and all that. Then he said he hated philosophy and stuff. Yeah, I understand you have to. It's very rare to be good at both math and the humanities. So he says consent is lack of consent, which is also the what's his name, the Cabrera line, right? I mean, he's like just doesn't understand Benatar's asymmetry. But Benatar's asymmetry is just something everybody understands. It's just that pain is painful. That's really all there is to it. Suffering is unpleasant and so on. It's really that's not, I mean, also it's a mathematical argument. So if he's a university maths level, but he is not interested in Benatar's asymmetry. What? So he calls philosophy mental masturbation, and I thought the guy's just a troll, really, like Danny Shine, uh, but a different kind of troll. You know, Danny Shine calls himself a skeptic, a reproduction skeptic. Well, anyway, I don't want to get into that right now, but it's just okay. So there's this absolutely infantile story. I'm really looking forward to what that guy has to say in the comments to Dana and what she has to say. It's just really funny stuff. So I think I've said enough now, but I'm gonna upload this. But yeah, this guy is something else. And also, what's up with this? He says he hates hearing his own voice, so that therefore he doesn't make content for YouTube really. But then he goes on a podcast. How is that? How does that make any sense? So I guess I'm gonna go in and see the comments as well on the podcast. I listen to it on Spotify, but I'm gonna go into YouTube as well to see the comments there on the podcast.